Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
How are your hands today, Garry?
Yeah, they're a bit achy, but they're all right. Yeah, a little bit. But
so today you met you allowed a new client onto your books.
I did, and it's my first new Phoenix warrior.
Hey! Brilliant. So she
the lovely Claire.
Claire came through the Phoenix group.
She did.
That's brilliant. That's really
great. She was just about in my area, and Caroline couldn't go, and I thought, I'll make the effort. I drove an extra 2 hours to go and help.
How lovely. And I'm sure she was very appreciative. Hi, Sarah.
She had the lovely natives. They were lovely. I've forgotten the old girl's name. Lara, Clara, something like that. And Merlin, that was a Dale's Cross cob.
Oh, nice.
And he was lovely.
Nice.
Well, she was lovely too, but and he had this big woolly beard. It was amazing. I loved it.
Oh, how lovely. And I gather you did a little bit of trimming and lots of talking.
Yes, I have to say we were putting the world to rights. We got on like a house on fire, which was lovely.
Grace says, I had a new arrival to my herd today. Very, very nervous, but we will get there. Ooh, did you?
I saw that come up on Facebook, Grace. I just before we came on air, I noticed it.
I thought you were downsizing, Grace. I thought you'd just. I don't. It's these addictive horses. It's addictive, isn't it? Us people who like horses. Here comes another one. Oh, I'll add that one to my herd. What's the new one called, Grace? Well, is it?
That's why she put put it up on Facebook. She said the new one's arrive to keep others company, and we're stuck for a name. So,
Quantock.
What do you reckon?
Phoenix.
Quantock. Phoenix. Oh my God, it could be Phoenix.
Phoenix. That's the name.
Phoenix, Grace. Phoenix. I've already got a Phoenix on my group that I actually saw today.
What, a horse? I don't think
I've got a Phoenix already. One of Georgie's is Phoenix.
Great idea, she says.
Great idea.
Phoenix.
There you go.
So no other news other than that. Enjoyed your day today. How many horses did you end up trimming today?
I 11.
Oh, it's only 44.
11 and 4 hours in the car.
Oh, see, mind you, I tell you what, the best bit about being in the car is because you can just wind down. You get to rest and listen to your favourite audiobooks. That's me. I like listening to my favourite audiobooks.
I shall.
Hi, Vivian.
I shall tell you that on my drive to my last client, there was a 15-minute stopover in a lay-by for a power nap.
Was there? You needed to have a power nap, did you?
There had to be.
I can't do power naps. I cannot do that.
I would have been there for 8 hours if I hadn't put my alarm on. I would have been there for 8 hours if I hadn't put my alarm on, but it made the world a difference. So that's good. I had a power nap.
A power nap. And what have you got on tomorrow? Anything? Have you got trims tomorrow?
Yeah, trims tomorrow. Up early. Going to see Betty. And Betty used to live with Carmen years ago.
I know who you mean. Yeah, I've heard you talk about Betty.
And then Corinne's 4, then Lucy, then Debbie, and then I'm going to see my second mum with some flowers for Mother's Day.
Oh, that's nice. Is it Mother's Day tomorrow?
It is in England.
Is it? Oh, there you go. But I won't get anything. And then my kids go, no, it's because you live in France, Mum.
I think the French one's in June, isn't it?
I think
I'm
it
not
is.
sure.
I don't get anything then either. I love power nap. 20 minminutes is great. I can't.
Oh,
I
who said
can't power
that?
nap. Power nap for me ends
I'm
up
not
2 hours.
organised.
Yeah, me too. I'm rubbish. In fact, I can't sleep in the day. I would not very good at it. Right.
I can't do it all the time. Can't do it all the time.
Has anybody started the 10-day challenge? Because we're all dying to know what everybody thinks of Garry's lessons.
All right, I'm just going off air a minute.
No, come back. Don't be silly. Come back. So has anybody started the 10-day challenge yet? I know that many of you are going through the 15-day challenge, but and that we opened up the 10-day challenge to lots of people. We need access to see it. Grace, you see enough of us both. How many lessons do you think Grace has gone through already? I mean, there's got to be near on 200 lessons that she's gone through.
Yes,
as a student. And you're not bored of us yet. So tell us, if you're going through it, what's Trisha say? I started it, but I think I have a concussion. Might have to put it on hold. Oh no!
Oh no!
Dear. I hope you didn't fall off your horse or anything like that. It'll all be there for you. It'll just keep opening up day by day, which means you can go in and binge. When it's all opened up, you'll be able to go in and binge watch. But the feedback we've had, it has been remarkable. It's been fantastic, hasn't it? And you know, I was only thinking today when we were having a discussion about it today, and there's nothing like this, because this isn't just your standard stuff that you'll find in any other textbook. This is stuff that is absolutely, completely, fairly new to the equine. It's not new to us, but it's quite new to the equine world, the traditional world, who just keep on banging and beating that same old drum. What Trisha says, no, I bent down to pet my cat and slammed my head in the gut. Oh no! Ow!
So it's the cat's fault.
It is the cat's fault. Yeah, so get in there, get into those challenges, and start changing your life. You know, it's a dedication really from you to advance your skills, you know, in equine hoof care, horse and hoof care, because even if you don't want to be a trimmer, and we must trim, and we've said this so many times, you need to know this stuff. If you're only in the Phoenix group for 5 minutes, you know what everybody's saying, which is try and take control yourself if your farrier or your trimmer is letting your horse down. You know, too many times you hear on the internet, you will hear professional, of course you'll hear professionals say this, oh no, I trim like that, my horses never go unsound. Well, it's not true, is it? Because now you're starting to see people turn up going, 2 days later, a day later, my horse is crippled and I'm not doing good. Well, hello, I don't know who that is.
That's Penny Gifford.
Hey Lindsay, I've been meaning to, oh, this is a big long one. Look, it's blocked us. Look, hi, you can see my hands. If I peek over the top. Hello. Hey Lindsay, I've been meaning to
do a what now?
Hey Lindsay, I've been meaning to post in the group, but I wanted to say thank you. Who is this? For being
this is Claire Brough.
Claire Brough. Hello Claire, for being a catalyst for me taking on the trimming of my own horse's hooves. Brilliant. When you left the UK, yes, Claire used to be one of my clients, I never quite found the right trimmer, and I realized I never valued you, not only as my trimmer, but as an educator too. Oh, I feel really sad when I see people slate you on your page, because it was you who started it all for me. I had a guy, does it carry on? I had a guy out to check the horse's feet the other day as I get a bit of a confidence crisis. I can't read anymore. It won't let me.
Right. Let me hold on. Let me get there.
You can finish that off as a bit of a confidence crisis. Oh, thank you, Claire.
A bit of a confidence crisis every now and then. He told me to keep doing what I'm doing. Thank you once again for sharing your knowledge and empowering me to start trimming. You are worth your weight in gold and then some. Isn't that lovely?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you
But don't
very
get
much.
too much of a big egg. You are a good egg, I have to say. You are a good egg.
I'm a good, yes. Well, we both are. We
But-
both are. We're just a little bit different. As born a bit different. That's lovely.
Don't stop working. Don't stop working.
No, don't worry. I shall never stop working. I know, that's so lovely. Fabulous endorsement from Claire Brough. It is. Thank you. And I remember Claire coming and seeing your horses, and we used to. And I remember when I first met you all those years ago, and your lovely place that you lived out near Dartmoor, on Dartmoor. Yes, it's lovely. Thank you. And I can't, well, you know, when I was in the UK and I was building my client base, I think probably a lot of people who are professionals like us in the field that we do, I could never say no to anyone. So I would just end up not, you know, not spending any time with your own horses. And that's what led me, wasn't it, way back, to find out the truth about what's happening with hoof care, by sort of letting my horses do their thing a little bit, setting them up for all the right diet and management, lots and lots of movement, and then going, hang on a minute, look what's going on with their feeties. And it takes a completely strange people to be able to go, no, equine world, stop banging that same drum, stop doing the same thing, because we're not getting anywhere and it's getting worse. And unfortunately, you know, 25 years ago, when I started all of this, there were bagged feeds out there, but not in the way that we have them now. There were supplements out there, but not in the way that we have them now. And when we're on our workshop, or if you go onto the 15-day challenge, I do a presentation where I talk about the pink aisle. I talk about going down the pink aisle and the pink tax, right? If you know what I mean, that's the pink tax for ladies who like things that are pink, because marketers know, they put everything up. Farmers go past the pink aisle like that, ha ha, and then they go down the cow aisle, which is, a lot of the things are based on the same thing, but everything is half the price and none of it's pink. It's just white or black. That's it. White, basic white tubs, no fluff, nothing, you know, just here's the ingredients, this is what it does, done. Whereas on the pink aisle, we have pots like magic, which is a treatment to treat everything that your horse has a problem with. And every lotion, potion, powder you can imagine is on there for everything. And so we talk about the pink aisle and the pink tax. I don't even know why I started that. So yeah. What are we going to talk about?
Just to add on to what Claire was saying, that it all started with you. My last client today, which was a new client, and like you said, I travelled 2 hours to see this client because I wanted to help.
Yes.
And it must have been something that was in the air, so to speak, because as soon as I arrived, she says, I'm really hoping to get onto the 3-day at Longmarsh. And she says, and if I get on okay, I am really seriously considering doing the 2-year training program.
That's so exciting.
And all because of all of these fabulous people in the Phoenix group.
That's right. That's where it came from. And Claire,
that's where it came from.
See if you can come to Longmarsh. Because I don't think you've been to one of our workshops. I'm pretty sure you haven't. So if you can make it to Longmarsh in Somerset, June, is that? It will honestly accelerate your learning. We're going to be there. We can sit down with you with the cadaver legs, and we go through the trim with you. And so when you leave there, you'll be even more empowered, because you'll know it then. So if you can, see if you can come to Longmarsh, because that's Longmarsh track livery in Somerset. And then we're at Gawsworth, Cheshire, Gawsworth track livery in Cheshire in July. And then at the beginning of September, we're in Norfolk, where we're going back to Norfolk, where we had a lovely time there last time. We're back to one of our students' tracks. So we're going there. So yes, we don't know whether we're going to make it up as far as Scotland this year, and we're probably not going to get to Yorkshire, etc., because we've just had so much on this year, so we've not been able to do as many workshops. Last year I think we did 6 or 7 workshops, and this year we'll probably only end up doing 3 or 4 workshops. And then next year we think we might be going to North America and Australia, stroke New Zealand. I know that I lump them both together, but that's because it feels like that. You're so far away. Longmarsh is where it all started with my journey. Yes, and if you look on the HM page, Grace, I've put a little video up of Garry teaching about how horses' feet aren't flat. They've got arches in them. Remember we were talking about that? And you're there, stood there going, listening. Hi, Jeanette from north of France. Canada, maybe. We've discussed Canada. We did discuss Canada. It's just a whole new thing for us. The biggest problem that we have when we go to do these workshops is we don't have a problem getting people. We don't have a problem really getting a venue. We can find venues, but we do have problems getting cadaver legs, and we need a lot of cadaver legs because we have at least 3 legs a person to do that weekend. Wow, learn to trim and see the world. Yes, it's going to be exciting, and we've always wanted to do it, but we never did because we were always far too busy. But because we're going to be training students now from all over the world on our 2-year training program, we're taking people in from all over the world. We've got people sort of gearing up who are in Australia right now, who are gearing up to start on the next intake, and in America. Because of that, we feel that we need to go further afield to meet people in person, so that we can then see them before they get onto the training route, or at least meet them in person when they're on the training camp. It's going to be very exciting. Morning from New Zealand, says Jenny. Hello, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Anne Chopra says, can stay with me in Stratford or in Comox. Do I say that Comox or Comox in British Columbia? Nice. Thank you very much. Lovely job. We might just do that. We might just take you up on that, Anne. So it's very exciting. You will love it.
It's very exciting.
But for those of you who go, that's not fair. I can't make it to a 3-day in-person workshop and see you. Well, that's why we went out and we filmed filmed a couple of workshops and put that laid the foundation, the basis, the backbone for our challenges. And then we added in a load of extras. And the great thing about these challenges is you get everything that we did on the workshop, bar, I suppose, the practical trimming bit when we're all together in a trimming situation. Although you can do practical trimmings and we will assess it. But you get everything that you got, all the presentations, etc. But you can go back and look at it again. And look at it again and look at the slides and listen to us and go back and go, what did she say? What did he say? I want to go back and re-listen to that. Unfortunately, with the 3-day, because we don't allow any sort of recording, we allow you to take pictures, of course. You can't really go away and then just go, what did she say? What did he say? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what they said. I can't remember. And that's why we encourage people to come back to. We encourage people to come back to the 3-day workshops free of charge. You just have to pay for your legs, the legs that you use. So it's fab. And you know, we do something very different to what everybody else does. That's why people are very life changed by what we do. And I think you're getting to know us now in the Phoenix group. You're getting to see what we do. You're getting to see the effort that we put in to help people, because we it's not good enough just saying we care. It's not about that. It is obviously about the fact that we care, but it's also about the fact that there is a deep problem in the equine world, and that is what we are here to do. It's our mission to stop what's going on, and it's so ingrained that it's going to be a very, very difficult journey. But with you guys, with the Phoenix Warriors behind us, it's going to make it a lot easier, because you're going to come out with us in not even some of you in person, but we will be all over the world changing things for horses and ponies and donkeys, and that is incredible. And nobody else will teach you this. There's nobody out there to do this sort of stuff. Nobody knows it. Well, I say nobody knows it. Those that practice natural horse and hoof care know it. But the problem about that is that often people, you know, when they get into the big wide world, it's very difficult to be very focused and be very principled. What happens is that little people start talking in your ear and going, oh, well, maybe if it's not getting better, so maybe if we did chop the toe off a little bit. And then once you've done it, right? And then the pony didn't get any better, the horse didn't get any better, and then the next time you try it again, and eventually, finally, what happens is you move further and further and further away from that original, further away from what the horse needed. And that kind of happened to me a little bit way back at the beginning. And it didn't happen to Garry, luckily, because Garry started with me, and I trained Garry, or I helped train Garry with Caroline. And, you know, he had the benefit of having two people who were out there at the rock face trimming and doing it the right way by then, because I'd sort of gone through my little episode, my little fad of maybe they're right, maybe I need to do what they're doing, and then found out they were wrong and that I was right all the way, all along. So yeah, it's incredible, really. How many legs do you need on average for a 3-day workshop? 3 legs
per person. So when we're really, we want 15 to 20 people on a in-person workshop. So that's between 60 and 80 legs is what we get through on a workshop each time. And if it is at all possible, 2/3 are barefoot and 1/3 are shod. But to be quite honest, if it's just about getting legs, it's just about getting legs.
Yeah, we don't care.
We can make it work. We can make it work. That's just how we work with the ideal.
The clinics are absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Bethan. Thank you.
So yeah, and if people are willing, we're lucky. We have in the UK we have somewhere where they actually keep them for us in a freezer, but there's not a lot of places that do that, I believe, around the world.
No.
So before we found this place, they were in 3 freezers in my conservatory when I lived in the UK.
We collected them as we went along, and before that they used to be in different freezers that I looked after and stocked.
Yes,
at
that's
various
right.
places.
Yes.
It's difficult. That's part of our biggest problem.
The legs are the most difficult thing, and yes, two fairly sized chest freezers would hold enough enough legs. Yes, so yeah, that's a bit of a challenge. You might
find this interesting. Garry, tell them the story about when you first went there and we started going to the place that we get our legs, because he supplies a lot of
yes.
You might find this interesting.
It was really interesting. A lovely chap and they take fallen stock and all of that as well. When we first went there, he said, well, we've been a few times actually, when we were doing our workshops, and more times we went, the more we have a conversation.
Well, we got to know
And
him.
he said, can I ask you a question? And I said, of course. He said, it's really interesting because I'm stuck on the outskirts of London, so I can help supply education facilities, universities and colleges with body parts and cadavers and stuff like that. And he says, it's really interesting. Why do you ask for so many barefoot horses? And I told him basically what we do. And he said, that's really, really interesting because of all the education facilities that I supply, they only want shod feet. And I said, oh my God, that is absolutely and totally shocking. So we've got these universities and colleges that are teaching out there, and all they want to do is see shod feet. And obviously,
Yeah.
I'm only talking about the UK, but let's face it, we know what was going on in the UK. We started the Phoenix Way, and we've had people from around the world, and it's just extrapolated everywhere. So I can only assume, and I think it wouldn't be unrealistic to assume, that the same is across the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another little nugget of information why we need our Phoenix warriors.
And I think, you know, we've talked about this, we've had many discussions about this, and we think that one of the reasons will be because I wonder if they teach them how to pull a shoe. That might be why. But
yeah,
the problem you have with that practice is that they'll never ever have the chance of seeing a healthy foot, because every single shod hoof we come across, when you take the shoe off, that's not a healthy foot underneath. There isn't, for various reasons. It's not a healthy foot underneath. It's not a foot that's been engaging the back of the foot properly. It is not a healthy foot in any way, shape or form. And so they are seeing these feet as an example of what they think is right. And these are young, or not always young, but these are students, veterinary students, who are being shown. And many of these, remember, many of these vet students aren't going on to do horses and hooves. Many of them are going off to do small animal, which is why they don't concentrate on hooves very much. And so they're all in there, and they all get given a shod foot, and they don't see the natural foot, which is remarkable. Because when we have all the other feet that are barefoot, sure, we get a few that are overgrown, and sure, we get ones that are laminitic and problematic and are not great, but we do get a great huge amount of feet that with just a little tickle up of a trim look incredible. And I think that's one of the massive buzzes that participants get when they come on the course. Is the first bit they're a bit like, oh my God, am I going to be grossed out? And then they realize that actually they fall in love with their cadaver foot, because they get so into it. And when you trim, you could have one that's really overgrown, and you trim it, and then underneath is this beautiful foot, a bit similar to the one that I put up the other day. And so many times I think it's so filled with all sorts of emotions at our workshops, and regularly we have people in tears, not deliberately, but not about the cadavers, just because it's so emotional and so intense and so amazing, and like I said, life-changing. And you know, people go, God, why did this horse die? You know, he actually had the opportunity of having fantastic feet. So it is a huge eye-opener. But the whole only take shod feet bit, well, that's shocking. It's shocking.
That was a bit of an eye-opener. My jaw would nearly hit the floor when he told me.
What does Bethan say? Bethan says we can get legs stocked and freezer stored at our local Nacken yard, no props. It's thank you, because we're going to Bethan's. Bethan, if for those of you who don't know, Bethan Thornycroft is Galsworth track livery, and I'm sure many of you follow her. If you don't, please go and follow her, because it's incredible what she does on her track. But Bethan, we don't need to, because we'll come up, we drive up, and we'll be collecting our legs down in Essex, and then we'll be coming up to you. So we'll have it all, and we have it all organised, and we've already got it ordered. Your clinic is filling up, your workshop is filling up, isn't it, Gary? We're getting quite a lot of people get very excited about coming to Galsworth. Becky says the workshops are just brilliant. They're addictive. They are, because even though you're coming to learn about horses, it's the same with the 15-day challenge, right? You're coming, you'll learn, you're thinking this is all about learning about the horse, right? I'm coming to learn about the horse until you realize it's about you. It's about you. It's about how we change you as a person. It's all about you. It's self-development, really. It's about training you to see the other side of it. Step out of the box. And then when you've got one foot out of the box, it's having that confidence of taking the other foot out of the box. And then you're a fully fledged hoof hero, because you can stand up for your horse when somebody comes along, farrier, trimmer, physio, chiro, osteopath, vet, and they can come along and they can go, oh, I think your horse's toes are too long. And you could do a poly, and you pick the foot up and go, look at it underneath. You go, here's the outer hoof wall, here's the inner hoof wall, here's the white line, and here's the sole. Where would you exactly like me to take the toe back to? And they just don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. Not a Scooby-Doo. But you will, because you know now.
I have a story that would back that up. It was with a vet, and I didn't actually know that the vet was going to be there, because I was going to the client and saying one thing, the vet was going to the client and saying another thing. She said, right, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to have them turn up at the same time, sort it out.
She did, yeah.
She did, and good on her. Good on her.
Yeah, we don't mind, do we?
Advocating for a horse. We don't mind at all.
We love it. We love it when owners ask us questions and do things like this.
But it was really interesting, because on that day, I think somebody must have been just looking after me. Sometimes that there's somebody just giving you an inkling. I turned up 20 minutes early, so I got in there and trimmed straight away. So he wasn't looking at a foot that was 6 weeks into a trim.
Yeah.
So I went in there, and she said, and I started on another one, and then we started talking about the horse, and she actually left us to it. She said, I don't want to get involved with this anymore. You just come up with a plan and you tell me what needs to be done.
That's right.
I said,
quite
okay.
Rightly so. What's special?
And the guy, the vet, was very nice. It was very amicable and everything. And I said, okay. And he just looked from the top, and he said, the toes need to come back.
Oh, this is the Sharpie moment, isn't it?
Yeah. So I got my Sharpie out. Here's my Sharpie. And I said, okay, so you tell me where you want me to chop the toe off. And he drew with the hoof on the ground. He just drew around here. I said, okay. And then I said, okay, so let's turn that upside down then. Let's have a look at the hoof from up underneath. And you go up like that. And I said, well, if I was to chop that off where you want me to, that's actually going to go way past the outer hoof wall, the inner hoof wall, the white line, and actually go into the sole. So where would you like me to chop it off now? And he says, oh, no, we can't do that.
I
said, good job we checked from underneath, wasn't it? Good job we checked from underneath. And then he said, well, the thing is that they just get too long, and it's just not right. And I said, well, how about then, if you're worried about the toes getting too long, how about I come and trim every 4 weeks? And he said, oh, that would be absolutely amazing. And I said, and he said, "Oh, Gary's ever so obliging. He said he's going to come and trim every 4 weeks, and I think that's going to be absolutely perfect."
I found
So
it.
he toddled off because I had to do another couple of horses. And I said to my client, "I'm not coming back every 6 weeks. You know that, don't you?"
You can. I'm not doing that. I've got the right. The
But guess
picture
what?
I'm just.
Your vet's happy.
But the vet's happy. The picture I'm just about to show you is exactly what you have just described, marked across and chopped.
Nippered off by looking from above.
Yes, by
Yeah.
by a vet. Actually, now this isn't downers. This is just highlighting the problem that we have, right? And this was done without the owner being there. So the owner had contacted me and said we were discussing this horse, not in my, she was near London, and we were discussing, she said, the vet's turning out. I said, don't let him do anything to your horse's feet. She said, he's going to get there before me because I'm stuck in traffic. When she arrived, he'd gone. And this is what he'd done. Without her being there, this is what he did. She sent me that picture and I just went, oh God.
It's just not funny, is it?
It just isn't funny, is it? And I just, and you can see how he's nippered. You could see he's nippered like that. So he just basically probably got the foot on something and then just went chop, chop, chop. I mean, as Beth says, I'd go insane. Yeah, I know. It's shocking. I know. It was awful. It was awful. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. And she sent it to me, and I have a bottom shop as well, but it's very dark. You can't really see it very well. Yeah, most vets I encounter recommend a bit of toe off. So ask how much is a bit and why. Oh, totally. They always say take the toe off. They've been ingrained. Yeah. They read it, and you know why? Because when they're at school, they've got it in a textbook that says with laminitis they are going the toe is going to tear the lamina. That's it. Dang, dang, dang. It's in, tested, done. Go out into the equine practice. Equine practice reinforces that, and so that's it. This is the result. This is the result. This is the result. Bethan says, I've had to wrestle nippers and knives out of vets' hands on several occasions. Yeah. Because it's not just this, is it? The nippering. It's the digging as well. Happens all the time in New Zealand. Shocking. Marked across and just went chop, chop and left him in the stable. That was it. And I'd already said to the lady, it's not that bad. You just let him out. It's fine. You just need to change diet and management. He's not that bad. We've got a few rings going on here, but it's not that bad. And this is what she came back to. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God. You know how I feel about hoof testers. So somebody asked me, so this goes hand in, I think it was Alison Franks. Let's just stop that. Somebody asked me today, today or yesterday, what I felt about flexion tests, because they must have heard me. I think maybe I might have said it on the 15-day challenge or something. I think I might have brought that subject up.
I think you've mentioned it on some of these lives as well about flexion tests. Don't like them.
No, and we don't like them, and it's not, you shouldn't be doing flexion tests. What are flexion tests? Flexion tests are when you bend a joint and you keep it in, you flex the joint, right? So you're flexing it and you keep it in that position for an amount of time. And then you put the leg down and ask the horse to go off immediately. Preferably they want them to go off in as fast a gait as possible to see what, if their horse is lame. Right. First of all, what's that going to tell you? If the horse goes off lame, what is that going to tell you? It's not very specific, is it? It's just going to say, oh, we've got some lameness in that leg somewhere. Because often when you do flexion tests, you're not just flexing one joint. Let's say you wanted to flex the fetlock joint, for instance. You'd be hard pushed to flex that fetlock joint without flexing the knee joint as well. And when you flex the hock joint, you can't flex the hock joint without flexing the stifle joint. You can't. It's not possible, right? It's not. You've got to anyway. And the same with the fetlock at the back of the foot. So the problem that I have with flexion tests is it's done by people who are varied skills, some better than others. It's not a standard examination. Each person, a man versus a woman, will have different forces on it. So if Garry and I did it, it might possibly be that he might hold it harder and stronger than I would, especially a back leg, but that are big and heavy. And so that's different. And then so all these variables, right? And so then Garry might go, well, I think a flexion test, you need to hold it for 40 seconds. And I go, oh, I know 30 seconds or 20 seconds is long enough. Somebody else might say a minute. That's another problem as well. So it's not standardized. It's not, you're sort of getting a bit of an idea that it might be in that leg. There might be a bit of a lameness. But I've seen horses, older horses, who are fine, actually, a bit stiff, got a bit of arthritis. They're old, old race horses, etc. Or not just racehorses, but older horses. They've lived the life of incorrect diet and management, and they're going to have a few problems. Can they still hack out? Yes. Are they fine? Yes. But I've seen vets do flexion tests on these horses, and they are lame for some time afterwards because of the force that they put on that. And that is where I'm just going to pick up on what Becky said about the hoof testers, because hoof testers have got very long handles, like nippers. And why do we have long handles? So that leverage, right? So you've got this little jaw down here, and you've got these big handles, and you don't have to put very much force here, boom, to go at the bottom. So with hoof testers, I know they're not blades that are cutting, but because they typically use a hoof tester to, for instance, test around navicular bone, which is round about halfway up the frock. That's where it sits, just under the frock, about halfway. And they typically use it for that. Or they'll use it, of course, for trying to search for pain in the foot because there's an abscess. And every time you use it, horses flinching. And it's just when they flinch more that it's possible that it might be. I've seen it so many times that they've tried it and then dug around and not found anything. It depends on the person using it. But you know what you can do with hoof testers? You can fracture pedal bones with hoof testers. You can fracture bones. You can fracture Palmer, the Palmer processes. You can fracture bones by inaccurate usage of hoof testers, because where's the standardization in it? There isn't any. So I hate them. And right, you've got your horse is coming towards you lame. We know that the difference between lame in a joint and lame in a foot. If you know how to read a lame horse, and then they go and get their hoof testers and they go, oh yeah, your horse is lame in the foot. And you're like, no, Sherlock, Sherlock. I know he's lame, right? What are we going to do about it now? Oh, well, we'll dig. No, we're not going to do that. So I say to my owners, don't do that. Don't let them use hoof testers. Wrestle that one out of their hand. One of our students, I don't know if she's watching, is Shannon watching? One of our students, I don't think so. Not long ago, had a vet come out to see her pony, and the vet had a nice little sort of case, and in there had like her tools, like a knife and a hoof tester. So she got the hoof testers and literally was about to do it, and Shannon just took them out of her hand and went, no. And the vet was like, what do you mean no? She went, you're not using those on my horse. You don't need to cause more pain, thanks. He's lame. We know that. Yeah, it's not great. It'd be like asking us to cross our legs and sit down for a while and then get up and run. I'm not sure about you, but I'm going to be lame, right? Yes, I am. Garry is. And the older we get, the more likely we're going to be. You know, we kneel down, don't we? Or we crouch down and then we go to get up and we're like, oh, when we do our job for any length of time, you know, you put wear and tear on your big joints like your hip joints. And, you know, years of grabbing a leg in between your knees and bending over, it really does take a lot of wear and tear, even though we have techniques to help you and we teach our students techniques to keep them supple and safe, etc. But it's not a good thing to do. So be warned, don't do that. Don't use the whole hoof tester thing. Yeah, it's very interesting. Right. It's funny how it takes us these little lives, isn't it, where we go?
It is, isn't it?
Okay. Anybody got any questions? We're going to ask you to ask us some questions. Got any questions? I might be able to find a photograph for you. You never know. On my extensive nerdy archive that I have of photographs of horses' hooves. Wonder how many I've got on my computer. Millions.
I've got absolutely loads, but my filing is absolutely SH1T.
It's shocking, isn't it?
SH1T.
We're trying to sort that out, though. We've
Oh, we're doing all. I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
You are getting better. Any questions? Would you like to see? What should we show them, Gary? What do you think we should show people? Got any ideas? Let me think. Blum 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 blum. Yeah, let me just go through some pictures. Let's see what I can give you to see. Oh, I know. I can show you this one. We could talk about this. Let's talk about this one. Let's see. Have any Icelandic horse pics? Oh, there's an Icelandic horse we use in the 10-day challenge. Oh, I don't know if we use him, but he's certainly there looking on, which was Brago.
I think he's in the background.
Gary's horse. Unfortunately, we don't have Brago anymore. But yes, Garry had an Icelandic. Can quarter cracks grow out if not through the coronet band? Can quarter cracks grow out if not through the coronet band? What about those that are through the... Right, I've got a picture for you. Hang on a minute. Marianne Wilson, let me find it. Some of you may have seen this before. Let's get this one.
Cocoa.
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Close.
It was close. It was.
That's quite impressive. Is it cocoa?
It was close.
Here we go. How many people have seen this one then? See, chocolate. Look at this. So this is a horse called Chocolate. This was actually one of Caroline's clients, and this horse had, as you can see, a raging quarter crack. Now, it hadn't gone through the coronet. The ones that do go through the coronet are normally injuries if they're up in the coronary bands. I've got some pictures of those as well. I have pictures of everything. So this one, I like reeling this one out because it freaks people out because they always think it's a bunch of propaganda for various reasons. One is because they see this massive hoof crack and then in only a few months' time, you know, July, August, September, sort of in 4 months' time, you see the hoof cracks completely nearly gone, right? And people firstly are like, no, that can't be right, and the hair's changing. Well, yeah, because the horse is starting to grow his coat, getting ready for winter. But the reason that it grew out so quickly, well, obviously was because of the diet management. But in that first picture, they had a heart bar shoe on that horse, and they told the owner that that heart bar shoe could not be removed because that crack would fall apart. It would open up. You can see they're grooving in that crack as well. If I blow this up, perhaps you can probably see that they're grooving this out. So this is being grooved out continually. And you can already see it's overgrown. So this shoe was well due to come off anyway. But they'd put this heart bar shoe on. Look, just critically look at certain things. Look how thick, much thicker this is here to here. So it's slightly wedged, right? Look at the fact this horse has got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of rings. So we know this horse is laminitic. Look up here. Can you see how this part of the foot is being pushed up here through this quarter crack? Because what's above there is the lateral cartilages. And this is why horses often will have cracks here, because of undue forces that go up through the quarter of the foot. Because, as Garry told you yesterday, if you watch the live, horses should have arches. And that's what it says on that post. I put this little video that I put up on the HM page. I might play that in a minute. And there's no natural arch here, is there? And so all this force is being put up through here. And they believe that if you took this off, it would fall apart. Well, quite the reverse. What actually will happen then is when you take it off and give it a natural trim, the pressure will be taken off this area and allow it to heal, which is exactly what it did do. But the reason that this foot grew out so quickly was because in a shoe, look at the difference from the coronary band to the ground here, and then the coronary band to the ground here. Like massive. This poor horse is walking around on stilts. And it isn't just because he's overdue a trim. It's because that's what happens with horses' feet. When they are going to be shod, they're not trimmed to the natural parameters. So they're too long. And when Caroline came along, she basically took probably about an inch off that. And so there was only a little bit of crack left. And that you can see there. And then there. And then there. And it disappeared and grew out. Cool, isn't it? Isn't that groovy? Fantastic pictures showing the healing in 4 months. Yeah, it's all very possible. If we and this is a full thickness crack, right? This isn't a superficial crack. This is a full thickness crack. And where full thickness cracks originate from? Unless there's been an accident, full thickness cracks originate from separation in the white line here, or anywhere actually. And so by the time it gets to this point here, you're usually left with a little bit of a hole down there, which is where it all came from in the first place, because it only needed a little weakness for it to actually start cracking. But hairline cracks, superficial cracks, which are not full thickness, which are a blemish in the hoof wall, a blemish in the horn tubules, missing a horn tubule, if you like, for whatever reason, they usually start at the top and they come down as a fine line, and you'll sometimes see them split apart at the toe. But there's a difference between full thickness cracks and full thickness cracks, whether they're quarter or toe, and hairline cracks. That's another question there. One of my drafts, a Belgian draft, has had her first trim to the HSP, and her frog is lovely but massive. Should I take some off rather than just a tidy? Is this normal for a big draft? I had that question today as well, I think, from Vivian Patterson, I think it was. So when you trim, for the first time that you trim, and particularly draft these, the first time you trim them down to the hard sole plane, you're like, oh God, I've got this massive amount of frog above the heels. What am I going to do? It's going to be walking around on this frog. Well, professionals like us who come along and look at that will judge that frog to see how healthy it is and how overgrown it is, and we'll probably be able to help that down a little bit. But you have to be careful, because this is the part of the foot that gets very sensitive at the back. So what we always say to owners, if you're going along this journey yourself, is leave it alone. Don't go, I'm not going down to the hard sole plane because I'll have too much frog above. Leave it alone, because your horse will sort it out. Obviously, you know, softer ground better, because they can dig in. And not joking, within just a few days of hyperstimulation on that frog, it'll start to exfoliate. It'll start to get rid of it. By the time you come back in a few weeks' time, everything is in line again. And then if you keep your trims regular, bum, 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 every 6 weeks, you don't have to go less than that unless you've got a very sick animal. If you keep your trims regular every 6 weeks, then gradually the frog and the heels will just sort themselves as long as you've got plenty of movement. When a vet farrier refers to the hoof as a sinker, can you speak to this terminology and if it's an accurate assessment? Well, it just depends on the vet and what they think is a sinker. Half the time they think rotated pedal bones that are about to penetrate.
There's so much misinterpretation of terminology. You've probably gathered in some of the posts that come up in the Phoenix group, and it could be any terminology, and then very often we'll turn around and say, what do you actually mean? Because there is a lot of terminology out there and everybody has a different thing in their mind that relates to that terminology. So we can talk about underrun heels, or my heels aren't developed enough, and we could go down. No, if somebody came up and sold that to me, I'd have a vision of that. But would it be the same vision as you had? Probably not. There is such a miscommunication with regards to terminology, and I call it buzzword bingo, because so many people use this terminology, but do they really fully understand what it means? And that doesn't go just for horse owners, that goes for the professionals too. We have to be clear what we're talking about to be able to fully understand how to help. That's really important, isn't it?
You see, absolutely. You see, P3 is not going anywhere. It's the hoof capsule that has the issues. All right. Whether it be manipulated, usually manipulated or not. I'm going to show you something in a minute on that. Lindsay usually has something to illustrate this. Remember, I'm a nerd. And if the equine world have got it wrong about P3 moving, then they're going to get it wrong all about rotation, all about sinking. So they think sinking is when all the weight is being borne through the bones of the leg, and the bone is that weight is driving that down through the horse's sole. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. I'm going to show you something in a minute that some of you may have seen, but I'm not sure everybody will have seen. Probably not. Weight mass is not the majority of our mass is not born through our bones. Skeletons, you can pick bones up. Big bones are they're not all dense, are they? You've got hollow bones. You've got bones they're not that heavy. And I mean, in our workshop, we go through bones, so they're not heavy. They're not. Even a great big horse, I mean, obviously they're heavy, they have some mass to them, but the weight of an animal is born through the tissues. It's not born through the bony column. Now that's something, there is some mass, but the majority of the mass, but people think that's what's going on. You have to think of all the other tissues that are attached to that bony column. If the P3 is going through the bottom of the foot, then the entire leg is sinking through the leg. the entire leg, right? Because P3 doesn't suddenly just drop off the end of P2. The whole leg would have to be sinking through the entire leg. Would it or would it not? Right? That means the fetlock joint has to sink. That means that if we're, you know, front or back, that means that around the hock area, everything would have to sink. The knees, everything would have to move. Think about that just for a moment. Doesn't, does it? They all stay in the right position. But somehow they've told the world that P3 is going through the bottom of the. How can it do that when the mass of the tissues is holding the rest of the skeleton in place? I mean, suddenly does the knee go saggy as the bones of the knee, carpal bones, suddenly fly down through the. I mean, he's laughing, but just critically think about what they're saying there, right? Because in order for those bones to sink down, all of the bones have got to sink down, haven't they? So I'm going to show you something. Right, let's just see if I can. I don't think I've shared a video before, so let's just see if we can share this. Here we go. Right, now come back, StreamYard. Now, before I play this, and I'll make it, or no, I won't make it full screen. Before I play this, what you're about to see, I think I do describe it actually. I don't know how long is this video? What does it say? How long? It is, it's 6 minutes long. So if you can stick with me for 6 minutes, I'll play the full video. Would you like me to play the full video? Because this is going to illustrate.
They're weighted with bated breath.
So
I can tell.
I had somebody who's very, very vocal on social media and very supportive of certain scientists come onto my page and say, how do you explain sinking through the capsule then? You know, the bone sinks through. I'm like, it doesn't do that. Yes, it does. It moves. No, it doesn't. Here is a video, she said, and she put up this video that I'm going to show you in a minute. And it was from Andrew von Epps. And Andrew von Epps has been working with Chris Pollitt for over 10 years on laminitis research. He is a vet and he's a equine research vet. And he took x-rays of this horse that they would have put to sleep because they would have seen it as a sinker. They took x-rays of this horse over a period of time, and then they put them all together in a time lapse. And when they put them together in a time lapse, you'll see the time lapse is very convincing. Anybody that watches this who cannot critically assess what's going on will go, crikey, P3 is sinking through the hoof cap. You'd be like, wow, the whole bony column is heading south. Fetlocks had it, knee joints had it. They're like, it's all going south. Until I went, and she said this to me, and it made, and I hadn't seen this video up until that point. That night, you were away in Tenerife, Garry, and I stayed up late, and I went, right, and I played it, and I'm like, nobody can see what I can see. So I took it to pieces. I took it off the YouTube, and I took the first x-ray and the last x-ray. And what we have to do is because Von Epps is making one very big assumption. Remember, this man is not a hoof trimming expert, right? We are. He made one fatal error. Well, not a fatal error. He made one big error, right? Which was he did not take the hoof capsule into consideration. What happens to the hoof capsule over time? Remember, these x-rays are taken over time. So let's play it. Let's get out of the way of it and let me play it. Let me know if you can hear my sound, because if you can't, I will have to talk over it. So here is a video by Andrew Van Epps, who worked with Chris Pollitt for many years, over 10 years, I believe. And this is an X-ray time lapse over 4 weeks, where they are trying to show you that this is the progression of laminitis, and P3 is rotating and sinking through the capsule. So it's separating from the hoof wall, which indeed it does, because that's what laminitis does, and it's decreasing in solar depth. And you look at this, and indeed, as you watch it through to the eye, it seriously does look like that bone is sinking straight down through the capsule, but the eye can't discern from the first photograph to the last photograph the change in the capsule. Now, we're always saying, aren't we, that rotation and sinking isn't actually to do with the laminitis, it's to do with the incorrect hoof care, because the laminitis is distorting the hoof capsule, and therefore the hoof care professional tries to attempt to make the hoof look more normal from the outside. Now, what's been ignored in this time-lapse imagery is the change in the hoof capsule. And like I said before, you can't discern that because you can't see something at the beginning and see it at the end and work out the difference. So what I've done is I've taken the image from the beginning, the first X-ray from the very beginning, and I've taken the X-ray from the end, and I want to show you something else that does not look like it's sinking through, because this is actually what's happening to the hoof capsule. So here it is. I've taken the first image, and I've got it lined up. Those yellow lines are drawn around the hoof capsule as it stands at this moment in time. Now, you can't, I'm sorry, it's off YouTube, so there's a line in the way, and there's a bunch of icons down in the right-hand corner. But I followed the hoof wall right down, and it actually goes beyond the bottom of the screen to be actual fair. So it goes a little bit further than that yellow line that I've drawn, but for this purpose it'll do anyway. And then I've joined those lines up, and I've put a red line from the coronary band to around about the center of the mid area of the bottom of P2. You can see that there, just so that you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade from the first X-ray to the last X-ray. And I want you to see the difference in the trim. I want you to look at the toe and see how the toe has changed, and what the hoof care provider has done to the toe, and how he's chopped it off, and how he's remodeled it, and how it doesn't look like, when you're looking at the video, it's really hard to discern the change in the palmar processes and the actual change in the position of P3. But when you have them lined up next to each other, you'll see it's not sinking, it's rotating, and the hoof capsule is being manipulated. And you can see that the heels are going up, and you can see the whole back of the foot being squished at the back. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So that original video, you've got that in your mind. Now you're going to see it in a different light. So watch this. When I take it and I start to move to the next image, instead of it sinking, you can actually see that it is in fact rotating, giving the to the eye from the beginning, from that video, making it look like it's coming down, but it isn't, because look at the hoof capsule. So we've still got ourselves in the same position, but look at the toe here, all the way down at the bottom where the two yellow lines meet at the toe. Now, when I go back to here, look how much material has been removed from this hoof capsule. Look how the hoof care professional has completely removed sole. He's removed the depth of sole, and he's removed the toe, and he's not had a correct balance point to balance to, hence the reason he's been thinning the sole, which is now why P3 looks like it's sunk, but it hasn't. In fact, it's not moved. It's just, it has moved, but it's the hoof capsule that's moved, moving P3 as the hoof capsule moves. And you can see that from this image here, right at the beginning, look at the heels and look at what happens to the back of the foot. As we go back, can you see the back of the foot going up? And if you look at the palmar processes, so that's the bottom of P3, now you're looking at the bottom of P3 and those little wings that come out of the back. Now look at this when I actually fade it through. Can you see P3 rotating? Can you see the capsule changing? That is to do with the heel height. That is why P3 is rotating, and the sinking or P3 going down towards penetrating the sole is because the hoof care provider has removed the sole and the toe. So that is the same x-rays, but done in a slightly different way, because I've marked up the hoof capsule, put them on top of each other and line them up, and then just faded from the first to the last. And it isn't sinking, as you can see. It is the hoof capsule that is changing. Can you see that? Long toe, well, not long toe, an ordinary toe there. But of course, they're frightened of lever forces, tearing lamina, which of course obviously didn't fix it, because the lamina continued to separate. And then simply raising those heels, raising those palmar processes, which you can see, and removing the toe and thinning the sole. And there, I think you better get the idea. What do you think of that?
And then so many people, when that goes out onto the public page, so many people come back and say, and very often a lot of farriers or other hoof care professionals, we're never taught to raise the heels and chop the toe off.
But they don't realise they're raising the heels, because
they don't know.
They're chopping the toe.
What they're doing,
yeah.
They don't raise the heels. They just don't trim them.
Yes, exactly.
They just don't trim them. So I'm going back to my terminology again. They're not lying. They're not raising the heels, but they are, because they're not trimming to nature's constant.
And they've got no point to because he took all
and
that.
And they've got no point to balance to. Yeah, take the toe away, you've got nothing to balance to.
And something else a little bit sinister about that wasn't mentioned in that video. From the very beginning, that horse didn't have separation, much separation.
No.
So how did Von Epps get a video over get X-rays over a longer period of time of an animal that clearly went through separation and rotation, separation from the laminitis and rotation from the farrier? How did he get that? What did they do to that horse to make them to get that? Super video. So I showed that and I posted it on the page. Thank you very much. I posted it on the page and I went, there you go, fill your boots. And she came back and made some flippant excuse and then drifted away again. And yet this person's very vocal, got quite a lot of followers, doesn't understand what they're talking about, just blindly follows what they've been told by these scientists. Von Epps works with Chris Pollitt. If you know who Chris Pollitt is, he's the one that's largely regarded as the laminitis expert in the world, who's done all his research on dead legs or on living animals, which he gave high doses of oligofructose to induce laminitis, putting them into tachycardia and colic and God knows what else, and then put them to sleep and looked at their feet. That's who we've got all this information from. It's got to change. It would not be allowed in the medical world. And the medical world's got a lot of changes to do as well. But that sort of thing wouldn't be allowed. Shocking abuse, and they still didn't learn anything. No, it's animal abuse. Yeah, it is. Oh, it is. It is. It is. Have you ever come across a horse or pony that has one leg longer than the other? Well, that's often what club feet are doing. And that's why, you know, when you get high-low syndrome, you end up getting one leg going up and one going down. That's a similar version of that. I suspect it does happen that through injury, etc. I've never really noticed it particularly, but through injury, through poor growth plates being affected, you can get to situations where one leg would be affected compared to the other. But I have to say that the horse would compensate for that, and they'd end up clubbing a foot and putting a stilt in there. So, yeah, it's all very interesting, isn't it? Isn't it interesting? You have a good pick of how they damage the lamina when they continually dig out cracks like that. I don't know if I've got time to find that.
That was when we were in. That was when we were in Bude. Do you remember that cadaver?
Yeah.
And I took the hoof capsule off. It was a massive foot as well.
I don't know if I can find it. I can't. Oh.
It was Bude, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I've got it somewhere. This will be the last picture that we show you this evening. So I've got to get on and do some work. More work. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Garry, fill in. What did you think of that, though? I mean, that's called not believing everything you see. That is, and how you can be foxed by something.
Yeah, it's easy to be flummoxed, isn't it?
Yeah, but
you know what? Your eyes.
I'd love Von Epps. I wonder if Von Epps has seen my. Oh, I found it. My version of that. Okay, this is what you mean. I'll have to put them next to each other, because then you'll because they both need to be next to each other for you to see the what happened. And I need to rotate that one. Hold on, viewers. Sorry, I'll be with you in a moment. It's worth it. I can tell you, it is worth it. All right. Okay. Share screen. It's not going to let me put them together. Wait a minute. 3 seconds. 3, 2. Hang on. Let me just go here. Create a design. Let me just do a quick whiteboard. You poor things having to wait for me. It's really worth it, because so Becky is one of our HMB Pro students, and she's talking about damn it, she's talking about a crack. You explain it before we see it. Explain what it is. I know you mentioned it, just explain it.
It was a cadaver hoof that was on one of our workshops a few years ago. I can't remember how many years ago. We've done so many. And one of our students trimmed it, and then we said, "Oh, that looks a little bit nice, a little bit interesting, shall we say? Let's take the hoof capsule off and have a look inside." And I have to say, because it was a big hoof, oh my God, did it take a while to get off. And you could tell, just similar to cocoa stroke chocolate that you saw earlier, where the professional vet farrier were gouging the crack out
Here you go.
So you can see where they were gouging it out on the left, and then I took the hoof capsule off, and then you can see how much that it is permanently damaging the lamina inside. Not only the dermal lamina, but the epidermal lamina too. I don't know whether you can see that, where it's just above, and how it's just died. It's just died inside. You can see all that where it's all supposed to be nice and pinky red. It's just gone all. It's almost black red, isn't it?
So what will have happened here? These dermal lamina leaves, the red leaves here, these are attached to P3. They are attached to the sublamellar dermis of P3. So the fact that this is grooved well, you know, in like that, means that P3 underneath it also has been affected, the bone. Sadly, because we couldn't take this with us, we never actually, it's the biggest regret I have, is that we never buried this leg.
Yeah.
I wish we had, but we didn't. So we don't have the full set. So what you can see here is that, can you see that this is all scarred? Going up here, this is scarred. This coronary band is scarred. All of this is scarred in this area here. And then this foot is in distress, right? This is a laminitic foot. Look at all the little ripples, or big ripples rather. It's got too much foot for a start, probably. It's not properly balanced, and they've been cutting. Hoof doesn't grow like that, right? So they've been grooving this out for God knows how long, trying to stop the quarter crack. And that was the result. Shocking, isn't it? And also, if you look up here, you'll see something. Do you know what this is? Do you know what had been created? Because they'd grooved this out over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? And you can see the shape of this. So it created a shape here. But this is hard. This here in this hoof wall, which is the hoof wall, which is the epidermal lamina. And this epidermal lamina looks red, but it hasn't got a blood supply. It's red because it's been next to the dermal lamina. But if you washed that and put it under water, they'd go white. And you can see that this is white. What do you think this is here? This is your last question of the night. What is this that is pushing into that? I know it's the inside of this hoof wall, yes, but it's hard, this. When we took this off, underneath that was hard. So this horse could never escape this now, because that had been created, which was inside here. This is hard. What is it? Yes. Very good, Anne. It's a keratoma. Well done. A keratoma is not a cancerous or malignant lump. It is caused by trauma and chaos with the horn tubules, and that is caused by trauma. If a horse has got a keratoma, I pretty much can guarantee to you that horse has had digging going on for a long period of time, or has had big cracks where they've had a bit of a groove. Shocking. We did that. Lovely human beings. We did that. So the amount of pain this poor horse would have been in every step. Oh, did you enjoy this evening? We've gone for an hour and 24. Stop it now. I've got to stop sharing all my lovely pictures to you.
If we keep going like this, by the time we get to day 25, we'll be going on for 3 hours.
What does Becky say? Becky says, I remember when I first was told the pedal bone doesn't rotate. Do you remember it? I was so convinced by vets that I just didn't see right. But sure enough, once you understand the crack trim, it all makes sense. I hope you enjoyed that tonight. Celia found us eventually. She was watching The Soul of the Soul. That was our other live. I'm giving them all titles and putting them up on YouTube. All right, good. I hope you enjoyed that from nerdy Lindsay and nerdy Garry. This is why we did what we did. This is why we did our workshops. This is why we do our 15-day challenge. This is why we do our 10-day challenge, because you are going to learn stuff you will never get told that people don't understand. If you're being told horses' hooves rotate or sink, you're not being told correctly. That is not true. What I mean by the fact, yes, it's rotating, right? It's rotating, but it's the hoof capsule that's being rotated, and P3's off for the ride with it. It's not just wafting around in the hoof capsule like, oh, just no. But Von Epps, Pollitt, and various people like that have perpetuated that myth, and it's gone into every textbook, and that is totally what is believed. Now, it's not what happens at all.
Shocking.
Not at all.
Aren't you glad you joined?
Aren't you glad you joined the Phoenix group, you Phoenix warriors? All right, I'm going to go now. I've got a bunch of work to do. Gary's got work to do. Are you going to do some work now, or are you just going to just chill out with your mum?
No, I'm probably going to have a bite to eat, top up with a drink, and I will probably do about an hour, but then I need to sleep.
I might be there at 5 o'clock still in the morning. Who knows? Working.
Yes.
All right, my lovelies. Been lovely to see you again this evening.
In the morning.
I'll be saying morning, night.
Morning.
Okay, my lovelies, we're off now. We're like a bad smell. Off we go. See you tomorrow night on day 6. This was day 5. See you then. Bye-bye.
Take care.